Have you ever noticed something strange? The World Cup arrives. Entire cities stop functioning normally. People paint flags on their faces. Friends suddenly become football experts after watching exactly 7 minutes of a match. Your social media turns into a never ending stream of predictions, celebrations, arguments, and dramatic declarations about referees. And then there are those people, the people who simply don't care, not a little, not secretly, not because they're busy, they genuinely couldn't care less. Why does this happen? And what does it reveal about a person? The answer is much more interesting than you might think. Because ignoring the biggest sporting event on earth isn't always about football. Sometimes it's about psychology. Imagine you're walking down a street and suddenly everyone starts looking up at the sky. Most people automatically look up too, not because they know what's happening, because everyone else is doing it. Psychologists call this social conformity. Humans are wired to follow group behavior. For thousands of years, fitting in helped us survive. If the tribe ran, you ran. If the tribe stopped, you stopped. But people who ignore the World Cup often show something interesting. They may have a lower need for social conformity. Just because millions are excited doesn't automatically make them excited. They're less influenced by collective enthusiasm. It's like the entire world is shouting, "Look at this!" And they're calmly replying, "No thanks. I'm reading about ancient shipwrecks." What does this reveal? Often they make decisions based more on personal interests than social pressure. Here's something most people never consider. Attention is limited. Your brain is constantly choosing what deserves space. Every interest competes for mental real estate. For some people, football wins. For others, technology, business, history, psychology, gaming, art, space exploration, or that one random hobby nobody understands. Ask them about football and they shrug. Ask them about medieval swords and suddenly they're delivering a 45-minute lecture. People who ignore the World Cup often aren't uninterested in everything. They're deeply interested in something else. Their attention budget is already spent. Usually, these individuals have a strong internal interest that competes successfully against popular trends. Here's where things become fascinating. Many fans don't just watch football, they become part of something: a team, a nation, a shared experience. The World Cup creates an enormous sense of belonging. Psychologists know that humans love group identity. It's one reason sports are so powerful. For a moment, millions of strangers feel connected. But some people don't rely on group identity as much. Their sense of self comes from individual goals, skills, ideas, or personal projects. So, while others are thinking, "We won," they are thinking, "Who exactly is we?" Technically, they weren't on the field, which is a very knowing observation, and also not entirely wrong. Often, these people define themselves more through personal identity than collective identity. Have you ever walked into a room where everyone was excited? Within minutes, you felt excited too. No explanation needed. Emotions spread. Psychologists call this emotional contagion. It's like emotional Wi Fi. You don't need to see it, but somehow everyone connects. The World Cup creates one of the largest emotional contagion events on Earth. Excitement spreads, anxiety spreads, celebration spreads, even disappointment spreads. But some people are less affected by emotional waves. They don't automatically absorb the energy around them. While everyone else is screaming at a television, they're wondering whether they remembered to answer an email. They may process emotions more independently and feel less influenced by collective excitement. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Everything we've discussed so far assumes these people are simply disconnected from football. But what if that's not the real reason? What if ignoring the World Cup is actually connected to something deeper, something surprisingly positive? Some people genuinely enjoy being different, not because they think they're better, not because they want attention. They simply like having independent tastes. Psychologists have found that some individuals value uniqueness more strongly than others. When everyone moves one direction, they naturally become curious about the other direction. So when the entire world focuses on football, their brain quietly says, "Interesting, what else is happening?" A stronger preference for individuality and independent thinking. Here's the twist most people don't expect. Ignoring the World Cup doesn't necessarily mean someone is less interested in the world. Sometimes it means the opposite. Highly curious people often jump between many subjects. Today it's psychology. Tomorrow it's astronomy. Next week it's ancient civilizations. 3 days later they're learning how volcanoes work. Football may simply lose the competition. Not because it's unimportant, because there are too many fascinating alternatives. Their curiosity behaves like a browser with 87 tabs open, most of which they forgot existed. A strong attraction toward exploration and intellectual novelty. So, what does it really mean when someone ignores the World Cup? It doesn't automatically mean they're antisocial. It doesn't mean they're boring. And it definitely doesn't mean they're trying to be difficult. What it often means is that their brain is prioritizing something different. They may be less influenced by crowds, more focused on personal interests, less dependent on group identity, more resistant to emotional contagion, more motivated by individuality, or simply curious about completely different things. And here's the most interesting lesson. Human beings are incredibly diverse. The same event can feel absolutely thrilling to one person and completely irrelevant to another. Not because one is right, not because one is wrong, but because every mind organizes attention, identity, and meaning differently. So the next time someone says, "I don't care about the World Cup," you may just have learned something surprisingly important about how their mind works. And maybe about how yours works too.